First of all, put the Betamax VCR on a table like this. You want to take the screws from the sides off, and you want to take your cover off, just like this, okay? Now, if you take a look at this Betamax VCR, you see you got a board to the right, and you got your mechanism unit to your left. The biggest problem about Betamax VCRs is the video heads get dirty, and this is the video head right here. You got to very carefully check that to make sure that video head isn't damaged or anything like that before you get started, because if the video head is broken, it's kind of useless to fix the machine, because you actually need to replace the video head, and they're almost impossible to get unless you scrap out another machine just like it to take the video head and fix it. So let's walk through this real quick. This is the mechanism. Alright, from the top of the mechanism you can only do one thing, and that's basically clean the video head, the audio control head, and the erase head, alright, which you'd use, you know, like a t-shirt material with alcohol, and you would just slightly clean the side of the video heads a little bit, and then you rub the other ones down, you know, with the material like t-shirt material to get them clean. But that's only cleaning the unit. That doesn't really fix the problem. Most people have what's called loading problems, and where it eats tapes, okay? When a video machine like this is eating videotapes, it's because of the actual mechanism which is on the bottom side of this mechanism, which controls your fast forward, rewind, and your spools and things. All that's got to be cleaned and greased and rebuilt basically to get the unit to play properly. In a minute I'm going to show you that part of it, which I have out of another Betamax VCR. But I just want to walk you through this. When you get into a VCR like this and you take the cover off, there's very little you can do on the top except for cleaning the video head, the audio erase head, and the audio head. That's all you really can do. And then also too, if you have a broken loading pin that drags the tape around, they're real easy. You unscrew these little plastic things and you can actually replace it. But there's very little you can do on a Betamax VCR on the top part of it. Alright? If your machine is really having problems, you're going to have to do the following steps I'm about to show you in a few minutes, how to actually get the VCR to work properly. So let's get to the hard part of the Betamax VCR. Okay, here you're going to see I got a mechanism pulled out. This is a Betamax VCR mechanism that's used in all the front loaders that were made towards the fading out of Betamax in the late 90s or whatever, early 90s. But this is a very poor and crappy design, but this is how Betamax was made for the front loaders up to that time. Now you're wondering, okay, what are you looking at? This is the whole mechanism that was pulled from a machine. Okay, as you can see, it needs a video head, but I didn't replace it. So I just kept the mechanism to show it as an example of things you need to do and check to fix a Betamax VCR, so you can actually fix your unit and not have any problems playing back Betamax VCR tapes. Most Betamax VCR tapes, that, you know, when you put them in the unit, the machine eats them, and it's just a complete nightmare. And you're like, oh, how do you fix these things? Well, let's show you how to do it. All right. First of all, as you can see, you got your erase head. This is where the video head would go. Okay, and this is your mechanism that actually drags it around, just like a Betacam SP, which is a broadcast unit, but it's very similar. Okay. Alright, now you're wondering, okay, what do you do? Well, you know, basically, when this is in the unit, all you can do is clean it. But I'm going to show you a few things you can do and the steps you can take to actually get your tapes to play good. Alright, this is what you call your Capistan plunger wheel. It plunges against your motor here that drags your tape around the machine. Okay? These get very dirty, or sometimes they're sticky and all kinds of stuff, so you want to take it off and inspect it. So basically, this is a little plastic clip. You lift up on it, like so. This little plastic clip comes off, and you can basically take it right off just like this. Alright, and as you can see, you can take the little wheel and you can inspect it and make sure it's not cracked. This one is real slick. So basically I want to clean this and maybe rough it up a little bit because it's very slick and it would slip on the motor. And you know, you could use various type of cleaners. I use what's called brake fluid, automotive brake fluid. That stuff works fantastic on rollers for VCRs. It's really good stuff. So look for automotive brake fluid. You clean the wheels and then you clean them really clean with a dry rag and get it all off. It revitalizes the rubber and actually it works very well. Alright, so basically you want to put it back on. So basically what you do is you load it like so. You know, so put it back on and then you're done. It's just like so. You push it down And then you got your clip, and you're done. All right, after you get done cleaning your Capistan wheel and you check it and make sure that's okay, you inspect everything else. Look around the unit, make sure everything's clean, there ain't any problems, that the plastic guides are not cracked, and you know, there's no grease or dirt anywhere. Make sure everything's really clean. That's really all you can do on the top part of this unit. So basically, it's, you know, after you get done doing this, you're gonna have to actually flip the unit over. So check this out. Okay, here is the back part of the unit. You got this is the bottom of the servo video head drum, which is right here. And this is your Capistan motor. This is the thing that spins, that drags your tape around the machine when it's in the play position. Alright? Now, the only thing you can do in this particular spot is, a lot of times, these Capistan motors, they get dirty. So what do you do to clean them? This is very simple. Betamax is very simple. They made it very easy for you. This is magnetic. All you do is pull it straight out, like so, and you got it out, just like that. As you can see, this is the motor. This is the little copper coils that makes the motor up, and spins this little magnet, which makes this into a motor, okay? Now, what you want to do is basically you're going to want to clean the shaft on these. The shaft gets very, very, very dirty. You'll see a lot of gook builds up on these shafts, okay? So what you want to do is you want to take something like scrubbing pad or something, scrubbing sponge that's got the green backer to it. It scrubs for like pans and things, and you just want to clean this really, really good and get it all off till you get it all nice and clean like that again. Okay? This is the biggest problem. A lot of times when the tape is plain, it will stick to the residue on this motor pin or drive shaft, what you call it. It would actually stick to this. So you want to make sure this is really clean. So after you get this all clean, you want to reinstall it carefully, put it back on the hole, and let the magnet suck it right back in place. Then you want to spin it, just like this, to make sure it spins freely. Alright? Well, that's all you can do to the actual Capistan motor. I mean, it needs to be cleaned and reinstalled. Okay, now let's take an actual look at the mechanism, which is the biggest problem, and what you need to do to fix those issues. Okay, well, here's the biggest problem with Betamax VCRs. It's the biggest issue. It's the biggest reason that your Betamax VCR would eat tapes, would not rewind, would not fast forward, wouldn't do anything. This is the main situation why a Betamax VCR won't work. And personally, I cannot stand this design, but this is what they use for like 8 or 9 models. I mean, it's just such a crappy design. But let me explain to you how you can actually fix this issue, and you should be ready to go. Alright, as you can see, you got, okay, this is your fast forward and rewind clutch motor right here. See this? It's an actual clutch motor. So when you hit fast forward, it actually spins this unit right here, which is your clutch gear. Okay? This is the clutch gear. It goes from one point to the other point depending on what position you have it in. If you have it fast forward, it's going to hit here. This is going to spin, and then this wheel is going to spin in the fast forward position. If you hit rewind, it's going to flip this way, and it's going to go into the rewind position. Okay? This is the actual clutch motor that runs this gear, which controls everything that this actual clutch gear flip. Well, it's an actual pendulum. Flip gear is what it is. It flips from one position to the other position. The biggest problem with these is actually they get gooky. And when they get gooky, this motor cannot spin it when it's in position. Okay? So you got to take a little, there's a little C-clip on this, you take it off, and this is a magnetic wheel on this. See this? It's magnetic. You got to clean this magnetic material really good. There's a washer there, you got to clean all in there real good, and then you have a drop of oil on the shaft. And after you get it all re-cleaned up and all that kind of stuff, you put the wheel back on. It automatically takes it in, just like that. There will be a little clip, usually, or this one doesn't have a clip, but most of them have little clips. Then you want to spin it by hand to make sure it moves freely, which it does. See? When you take it off, you're going to find out it's really, really hard to spin. But once you put it all back together again, it'll clean it and oil it with just a drop of oil right on the shaft. It'll spin freely. Okay? So then, basically what you do is you would install all this back on here. But we're going to walk through the other steps first before I tell you what else to do with this. Alright. Now, both of these spindles have to be re-greased. Okay? This one I can't take off because it's going to be kind of time consuming, but you got to unscrew the tension band here, which is the tension band. You got to unscrew this, and this thing is going to pull straight up. Okay? So I'll do it on this side to show you what you need to do on this side as well. Basically, you take your finger on this drag pad right here. See this little drag stop pad? You move it up forward a little bit, just like so. Just move it up, and then you lift straight up. As you can see, the whole spindle comes right off. Okay? Just like that, the whole spindle. Alright. As you can see, there's a sensor right there that reads when it's in operation and what it's doing. Okay? And then you got your shaft. Now, and then you got, and also you got a drag pad here, and you got a tension pad on the bottom, which is right below it. Now, the biggest problem with these Betamax machines is there's no oil on these. If you notice, they're dry. Okay? They're completely dry. What you need to do is you need to get oil, maybe stuff like this. It's called 3-in-1. This is really, really good stuff. Alright? You put just a dot, just a little dab on this shaft, and you take your spindle, you put it back in place, and you work it in. Okay? Spin it. Just work it in, okay? Basically like that. That's all you need to do is just work it in. Make sure it stays in place. All that kind of stuff. Just work it in. And then you're going to want to push down to make sure it seats all the way down. You let go. There you go. It should, if you move this little pad, you should be able to spin this real easy. That's what you're looking for. Do it on the same thing on this side. Okay? You want to make sure this one, it spins freely as well. See, this one doesn't move very easily. That's because it's not greased. But when you re-grease it, it'll move as easy as this one does. Okay? Alright. Now what you want to make sure of is you want to check your pads and make sure everything is in the right position, and this little aperture is what controls those. Okay? You want to make sure that's free moving and it's doing what's supposed to do. Alright? And you want to do a little drop of oil in just the little spots on here. Just the little spots where the little plastics are snapped in place. You want to just drop a drop of oil, just a little drop, so that way they're all free moving and there's no problems and everything's good. Okay? Then you want to make sure your little tension drag here for your drag strap is working properly too. You want to make sure everything is moving freely, just like this. Alright? Then once you got that all done, you want to reinstall your clutch, which this is what you call your clutch pendulum. Alright? So what you do is you put it back on the shaft, just like so, and then there'll be a C-clip you put on there, and basically it will go from one to the other, just like this. Fast forward, rewind, fast forward, rewind. Fast forward, rewind. Put the C-clip in. Then once you get all this done, you're ready to go. So then basically what you're going to want to do is rejoin it back to the mechanism itself. So let me show you that real quick. Okay, now basically what you want to do is you want to rejoin it back to the mechanism, which is your motor drives. And it's real simple. After you rebuild and clean and re-oil everything on this mechanism here and do exactly like I showed you, you're basically going to put it back together again. You snap it back in place. Make sure that this little pin is where it belongs. See this little pin right here. Make sure that's where it belongs. It should seat real easy. Once it seats, just like that, now it's in place. You want to put your screws back in. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws on this one. You want to put the screws back in and make sure that's where it belongs. And when you flip it upside down, your mechanism should be ready to go. You should be all set. And if you have the whole mechanism out of the Betamax like I do, you have to reinstall this and plug everything back in. But basically you don't have to do that. You could do it completely with the VCR upside down. You could do this whole thing by just lifting up the board, and you're right there where it is on the actual unit. You should be able to do it. You don't have to remove the whole unit. But this is basically how you rebuild, re-oil, and double check a Betamax mechanism to make sure it's freely moving again. So once you pop a tape in here, and this is in your Betamax VCR, you should be able to fast forward, rewind, play. It should load good. You should have no problems. If you have any questions about Betamax repair and how to do it, or I can walk you through some things, contact me here at Video Obsolete Services. I'll be glad to help you out on what to do. But this is basically how you service a Betamax VCR. Thank you very much.